Hello everybody, today we have a customer's GameCube system that is not reading discs. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take the shell off real quick. We're going to test a disc in it and make sure that the spindle moves, or if we're getting activation from the laser. We might be able to salvage the old laser that's in there, but most likely at this age it's probably just best to replace it anyway. And then we want to do a cleaning service too. We've got lots of gunk built up in here. The fans are looking a little dirty. So let's get all that done. And then also the clock battery that sits in the front here on a motherboard for, it's the same board that shares all these plugins for your controllers. We'll get that replaced too so they can have their clock working. And let's get started. I'm not going to go too deep into the teardown, but it's very easy. We've got 4 screws here. Take those out, and then the top is just going to pop right off. So let's do that. And there's definitely a lot of dust buildup, so we've got the top off. You can see it's pretty well clogged. So I'm almost wondering if we were able to clean this laser up, top and bottom underneath, and then maybe adjust the potentiometer. It might read again. Here's that battery that's most likely died at this point for the clock, or just keeping time, of course. And yeah, so what I'm going to do real quick, let's get it plugged in, and then I'm going to push this latch back. That's right here. Obviously, we'll get that off. And that will let us see how this is activating, and we'll turn it on right here. We have our Jeremy McGrath Supercross World. Let's get that put on there. I'm going to push this tab here, push it back. We got light on, and we have no spin or movement on the laser. Because what the laser should do, oh, okay, we're getting some kind of movement there. Let's try it again. Okay, interesting. So it looks like, yeah, it's reading here, but it stops, so it can't read the disc. That's strange though, that we weren't getting any movement in the beginning when the system started at all. Okay, well that's good news, because that means we just have a bad laser. We can attempt to adjust it, but to be fair with you, I'm going to skip that today due to how dirty all this is. This laser is probably just faded, and any adjustments made to the potentiometer are just going to be kind of a band-aid on a bullet wound anyway, and it's going to just die in like within a year, I would say. So let's just get it replaced with a new one and go from there. And this front panel for the controller ports comes off, and then we're also going to replace this clock battery there, and that's pretty easy to get out, so we'll do that. And this has quite a few Phillips screws all along here, all around, and then the 4 in the front right here, and then that will make it so we can bring this entire unit up. We'll flip it over, and we'll get that laser replaced. All right, we got it cleaned up, and then I've got the Phillips screwdrivers out of there. Here's our heat sink. Believe it or not, a lot of people, when I work on these, they request I put thermal paste on here, but actually these didn't come with thermal paste. They came with thermal pads that go in here, and believe it or not, they last a really long time. So the odds of them being dried up and needing replaced are really low. I'll take a look at it before we're done, but I highly doubt that the pads under here need replaced at all. Unless you're experiencing overheating issues, you either have a bad fan, or possibly, depending on where it's been kept all these years, your thermal pads could be dried up. But right now what we want to do is we're going to get this undone. I'll show you where the potentiometer is if you do want to make adjustments. Let's say you can't afford, or you don't want to get a new laser right now and you just want to do a quick adjustment to see if you can save your system. I'll show you where you can make that adjustment real quick. So let's get this undone here. Okay, we've got the bottom shielding taken off. So if you're wanting to go down the route of actually adjusting or tuning your laser, this is your pot adjustment right here. So this is going to control the laser brightness. On this model, this is a DOL-001 model GameCube. You're looking at a factory range between 450 and 600. And you can kind of tinker with that and go a little bit less. Maybe I would say like 350. Any lower than that, I would think it would burn up the laser. So be very careful. Just make very small incremental adjustments so you don't just kill it. But yeah, if you want to do that, that's where that adjustment value is. Once again, I'm just replacing this laser. I'm not going to fiddle with adjusting this and hoping that the laser lasts longer. We're just going to get a new one put in here. But that at least shows you, if you did want to do that, that's where you would make those adjustments. Awesome. Here is our new laser straight out of the box. And the lens on this looks absolutely fantastic. One thing to keep in mind is some lasers that you purchase, depends on what system you're working on, they'll have static protection solder balls, usually on the ribbon somewhere, but this one doesn't look like it has it. I would assume it'd be right here if they had it, but there's nothing there, so we don't need to worry about it. And let's get this put in the system. Okay, we got the new laser installed. Gears are moving good. Next thing is I always put some lithium grease onto these rails here, and then if I can get it, squeeze a little bit into these gears here, that'll help things kind of move along and last a little bit longer. Okay, now that we have the new laser in, I made it sound like we don't want to do pot adjustments at all, but we want to at least check to see what our values are. So we'll put the ground pin here on the top, and let's see what values we get. I want to see somewhere in the range of between 400 and 500. So let's see what we get. 410. Okay, honestly, that's perfect. We're just going to leave it there. I don't see why we would have any reading problems at that range. So let's get it put back together. Okay, I got it put together for the most part just for testing. Let's see what happens. We were at 410 ohm reading on the laser. This is a DOL 001. Okay, we got movement right off the bat. That's good. We want to see this disc continue spinning non-stop. We don't want it to stop at all. Oh, I don't like that sound. Yep, there it goes. Damn. So I don't think we can adjust this laser any lower without the risk of burning it. I mean, we can try, but this is another thing that you have to keep in mind. So these lasers, we buy them in bulk from China, and unfortunately, some of them are just bad lasers. So it's not even worth trying to adjust this when it's already at 400, when the recommended value for this model is 450. So it's actually even more voltage going to this than what's recommended. And it's not enough to kill it where it's at right now. I've had tons that have actually been lower numbers than that. So what I'm gonna do real quick, give me a second, I'm gonna throw another laser in here, leave it exactly how it is. Let's see what we get. All right, so I swapped the laser real quick. The potentiometer adjustment's the exact same, nothing's changed. Let's see what we get. Now remember, we wanna see this disc continue to spin. Oh, I heard that noise again. Damn. So there's a couple other options here we can go over real quick. So on this daughter board, we have our Panasonic chip, and then down here, obviously they communicate together. There's multiple capacitors and things here. We could have issues with a daughter board and possibly some capacitors. So the next step, I think we're gonna have to make a part 2, because I doubt that we have multiple bad lasers that are failing to read like that. I know this disc works because I just used it recently, so it's not the disc. So yeah, we're gonna have to do a part 2 on this one, possibly checking over this daughter board, and then we'll go over the capacitors as well if we need to see if there's some issues there. But regardless, we'll get it working. So keep an eye out for part 2, but hopefully there was some informative information in here for you guys. And I'll call the customer, let him know what's going on. He only paid for a cleaning service so far. So me putting the laser in there obviously is just a way to, get it out of the way. He just wanted it clean, but the cleaning's not going to solve the underlying issue that the laser was dying. So we'll give him a ring, see what he wants to do moving forward, of course, if he is okay with replacing the laser. I just want to get it working so I can tell him what needs to be replaced for it to function. And we'll go from there. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and check out part 2 when it comes out.